said talk to me, damn it, or else I'm gonna throw you in the fire!
You stupid bitch! You filthy... Flyover State of Fear. Welcome back to Flyover State of Fear. Our nudes are in the bio. That doesn't translate.
Nudes in the bio dome. Me, Pauly Shore, Stephen Baldwin.
Kylie Minogue was also in that biodome. So
Australia's favorite daughter.
Yeah, one of them. You got Nicole Kidman.
She's an Australian, okay?
Yeah. So Cheryl's produced Margot Robbie.
She is big. She's big
Yeah.
now.
I'm sure some others that'll come.
I feel like just running down Kylie Minogue for no reason. Like, we get it. There are bigger actresses than Kylie Minogue.
I mean, like, would you put the lady from The Ring in, what's her face? Naomi
Watts?
Naomi Watts? She's on Kylie Minogue level.
She's probably
of like fame wise.
Yeah, she's probably above.
That. Welcome to the Kylie Minogue podcast, where we talk about. No, that's why we're talking about The Ring. No, we're talking about Resident Evil today. But before we get to that, we're gonna get to this. How are you, Brian?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing great. You can tell how good we're doing, how strong the banter is.
The banter's really heavy.
Real good. Just real warm. We're just hot. We're warmed up right out of the gate.
I think when we don't spend too much time talking about nonsense beforehand, the banter is strong, but there has to be a middle ground of nice banter, like...
Yeah, but we can't spend 20, 30 minutes just shooting the shit before every episode. We got lives to live.
Yeah, we got things to be sad about. Anyway, have you watched any things of the horrors nature recently? I know you've tagged me in a few things, but...
I brought up my list because I've been on a friggin' run. So this is like, I'm just gonna list them, and then I'll just talk about a couple in a minute. But since our last episode, since our last recording, Talk to Me, Night Swim. This is a new one to me, a vampire movie called The Addiction. It's a black and white kind of art house film with Christopher Walken. Very good stuff.
Modern?
From the early 90s.
Okay.
Late Night with the Devil, Night of the Hunted, Abigail, and then the one I tagged you on is that I watched on Shudder, Eyes of Fire, which is it's like a folk horror movie from 1983. Apparently, kind of underseen until recently. I think it just is maybe kind of got
on Shudder and
got on streaming, probably got a boutique release.
Yeah. So you watched. I mean, you fucking burned a lot. I have one question. Or I should say, very cool that you got out to see Abigail. I really would like to go see that. Looks
it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. I think I said in the chat, it's kind of like what I wanted out of Megan. It was like a little harder edge. It just went on, and Megan was fine. It was fun, but
it wasn't.
Yeah, this one had that fun element too, where the little girl was weird and creepy and but also violent. More violent.
Hell yeah. I like the cast of that too. I like that team.
Yeah, excellent. Like just a banger cast.
I like that filmmaking team.
They were the Ready or Not guys, right?
And
at least one of them. I don't know if
radio. It's like what's a radio noise or something? Radio silence.
Silence. I think you might be. Yeah.
Take my hard credit away. I don't remember it all. So I want to ask you though, because you named a lot, and we don't need to go through each one. Just give me your top 3 of that kind of batch of watching. That's only the past 2 weeks or so. So
well, I mean, Talk to Me. We've talked about is that's a banger, and I think it was a little bit better the second time around.
Yeah, I'm due for a rewatch. I have the Blu-ray.
I'll tell you one that almost I thought I was going to get surprised by, and then didn't, was Night Swim. I really thought in the first half hour to 40 minutes, I was like, the tension is not terrible here. They could really, but then they started getting in with the weird goopy ghost. It was just shots from under the water where somebody was behind him.
It was creepy.
There was some good creepiness in the beginning, is all I'm saying.
I like
it does not pay off. I'm not trying to say Night Swim ended up being good or anything, but I did get the impression that that could happen.
I like Wyatt Russell as an actor, so it's unfortunate that like they just can't give him that one. Although the one thing about that movie that made me die laughing, I was like, this is what the MLB gave their like logo rights over to use, because he's like a professional baseball player, I think, for the Brewers.
Yeah.
Instead of like, of teams, when like movies or TV, when they can't get the rights, they'll just be like, they play for New York.
Yeah.
And like it's vague. Like they didn't do that, which is kind of nice, but it was like, oh, this is what they were able to get.
Yeah, the MLB was okay with this. They were fine with that. Yeah, Wyatt Russell, this felt like his remember when Ryan Reynolds did the Amityville remake? This
That's
felt
exactly
like his
what it felt
Amityville
like.
remake.
I'm just dad who's gonna be a little serious sometimes.
Enough people have already talked about Late Night with the Devil, so I will jump to Night of the Hunted. It. Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I definitely want to watch it again. I really liked it, but I want to watch it again.
It was a good theater experience.
Ooh, I bet. I wish, and this is just something I've heard some other people point out, and like, it didn't affect my watching experience at the time, but I do think it would have improved if the kind of found footage elements were a little tighter and made a little more sense.
So I actually really liked like the the main broadcast, and I liked the behind the scenes black and whiteness of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does have a little gives itself a little more wiggle room, and then getting to his like dream, the dream sequence doesn't.
Yeah.
It's very much, and I really liked the movie a lot of Late Night with the Devil. Like, gave it a great rating.
No, I think it was a lot. It was a really well made movie.
It's like
David Dastmalchian just deserves more roles and bigger roles, and he's just doing so. He's great.
It's like his it's like the Rise of Leslie Vernon Behind the Mask. How like there's this really strong found footage, and then like the last 10 minutes,
Leslie Vernon purposely makes a hard turn and becomes like what it has been.
Yeah, it's kind of a movie.
It's fine, I guess. This just felt a little less focused. It's like you could have just had it so that the cameras run when they're not on air. You could have just left it like that. You didn't even need to have like a separate kind of like cam. You could have. It did not affect my.
Yes, I agree with you. There's some
people. It's a thing that, in retrospect, when I saw other people point out, I was like, yeah, that could have made it a little stronger.
Yeah,
but I don't want to give the impression that like affected me really.
I saw one person, remain nameless, focus on it a little too hard, where it was just like, I think you just fucking are starting to hate things.
Oh, this is getting too popular. I can't like this.
You know who I'm talking about. Yeah. I will say though, the thing that's popped up on my Twitter that is funny because it was such a bigger nuisance and humor is the 9 production companies in the beginning of the movie.
Oh yeah, I kept seeing that Family Guy gag.
Yeah, and it was because in the movie theater, it hit like the comedy of the Family Guy actually happened, but all these people are watching on Shudder at home, and I'm like, I get it. This is how these movies have to get made. Like, no shade there. But I saw people really complaining about it. I'm like, that in the theater, that really had us for a tease because they were like, okay, Spooky Time Productions. oh, no. It was straight out of that Family Guy gag. Whoever edited that movie had to have been like, I know what I'm doing. But anyway, yeah, good theater experience. Sans one person, but that here nor thou. What is that third movie you wanted to talk about?
Night of the Hunted. It was it's like a little kind of bottle movie. Girl is at a gas station and basically gets pinned down by a sniper. There's just like a lone sniper posted up on like a big billboard across the street. It's dark. She can, there's light, so she can't see the guy. There's like a walkie-talkie, so he can talk. He's talking to her, and it's just a cool, like, tense little bottle movie, and scary in a way that could really happen because it's just like, you got one scary guy with a gun, and that's all it takes.
I'll check it out, man.
That was also on Shudder.
Yeah, there's a really good look. I just looked it up. I know it's on Shudder. It's too expensive for my taste, but there's a really nice 4K box of this movie out.
Yeah,
So
it
if you
was
like
good. Like I said, it was enjoyable.
it, but excuse me. Yeah. In the meantime, I've watched um, I not movie wise, but I watched that. It was fucking as the Mid Olympics. The John Carpenter's Suburban Scares or Screams thing
Oh
from
yeah,
Peacock. Oh, because I was
I think I
watching.
tried to watch like the first
You
one.
did, because I looked it up on Twitter, and your name was part of like the tweets, and you were like, I
Cool.
think I remember your tweet. It was like, man, I don't know what John Carpenter did, but this has to be some sort of strike thing because these are the worst actors I've ever seen. And it was stories weren't that interesting. The reenactments were pretty fine. There was one okay one out of the six. I put it on during the workday,
Sure.
so I like watched it like while I was working. Um, and it was fine. I mean, and it was laughable to find out like John Carpenter actually just literally directed it from his couch.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, like
so
directed.
yeah, he just told people what to do who were on a set.
Directed him where to put the check.
Yeah. So I just saw a clip of him though, because you know how he always says, I love when they remake Halloween. I put out my hand and they give me money.
Yeah.
He is very nice about David Gordon Green. He's like, the movie doesn't work. I saw a clip today. It's How to Myth and Less. He goes, didn't quite work. There were some good things, bad things. Think David Gordon Green's a great filmmaker, but he fucking hates Rob Zombie.
Oh yeah.
It's awesome to hear him talk. He's like, now Rob Zombie, because there was a thing, some idiot in this panel goes, which is clearly one of these fake Facebook things, went,
Yeah.
oh, I heard Rob Zombie's gonna make Christine, and just he's like shaking his head like, please tell me that's not true, and anything but that. And like, you've never seen John Carpenter be like that, because he's usually like, yeah, remake what you want, I get a paycheck.
Right.
Jeez.
It's so that's
But
so
yeah, it was fine. It was A&E true crime. It was all it was. And then
I don't know. Part of it turned me off too because like true crime is already like the way true crime is these days is already get bordering on like so weird and gross and exploitative that then to like fully turn it into like a horror show and like have John Carpenter direct it just felt like it took the exploitativeness to another level that
it was.
I was like I think I found my limit on this.
It was like he's doing the VO, and we also once again know he has no interest in
Like
any of
it's not
this
just
either.
a reenactment like on hard copy. Now we're like adding dramatic tension to it and stuff. It's like I don't
Tension,
like this. This is
you're adding
gross.
tension, and then the
And I
people who were
remember it felt like there was a lot of speculation kind of
well, the
in it
people who
too.
were
Like
involved were the talking heads,
yeah,
but they were all very stories like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I wasn't really there. I wasn't really there, but it happened to my brother.
yeah.
Yeah, so it was gross. But I had Peacock up just because. And then I checked out something, another kind of weird one of haven't heard of it, called Come Play or Come and Play.
I
I
don't
was
think
from
so.
2020 with Gillian Jacobs. It was like a kid having a ghost. It was like he was seeing a ghost through his like tablet and iPad, but it did that thing where it wasn't offensive, but it relied on a kid playing autistic,
Yeah,
and
that's awkward.
it kind of was a bit of a turn off because it was like,
There's a movie I
uh,
really like that I did a Burning Bright on or a DVD bunker on years ago called Burning Bright. That's got that too, where like the little brother is autistic and used as kind of like an obstacle a lot in the movie and
yeah,
stuff. You know?
like the movie had a lot of like, oh, the kids, he doesn't have any friends, and the kids don't have friends, and blah blah blah, and he's not. It's very like, I don't think it was handled bad. I just turned me off the movie,
Sure.
but yeah, I ran through Peacock one day. I mean, like, because I caught up on Chuck. I caught up on
Tell you what,
Chucky.
Peacock's got that I haven't cracked into yet is the new Chucky.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm caught up on. You should. It's getting bonkers.
I'm fine. It can keep getting
Are
weirder. I have no
you?
problem with that. I'm past the point. Chucky is now ascended into that thing where it's like whatever they do, whether I like it or not, I'm gonna be fine with it. I'm just like let Don Mancini do whatever the hell he wants, and some of it I might like, and some of it I might not. So far, I'm enjoying it very much. We'll see. I could wax and wane on it, but he's kind of like past the point of me
Oh,
criticizing it anymore.
it Pet Shops. I would love to talk about it.
I
Are
will.
you? You didn't even start season 3.
I watched the first half.
Oh, then never mind. You're one of two. Well, after tonight, you're
I
2
think there's
episodes
like two
behind.
or three. Like the
There's
third one might be airing tonight,
the second
and
one's
then
airing
it'll be
tonight.
on Peacock tomorrow or
No, the
something.
second one's airing tonight. I think.
This is the second one. Anyway,
Maybe
I
3.
watched the
Anyway,
first 4, and there'll be 4 more. But I haven't.
yeah,
I kind
you.
of wanted to do a rewatch, but I'm also in the middle of a Twin Peaks watch with Harrison, and then Fallout came out, and he wanted to watch that. So we've kind of like taken a break on Twin Peaks to watch Fallout. There's a lot
Never
going on.
got
There's
tried to
only
get
so
in.
many hours in the day.
There really is. I really tried to get into Twin Peaks last year and just couldn't.
I definitely I'm like enjoying watching it, although I have found myself falling asleep during some episodes. I just can't help it.
Yeah,
It's just that time of the night. Me and Harris will be watching something, and it just hits me. If I lean back in the recliner, I'm going.
I did this almost all of season 1, and I was like, this is enough.
But it's like it's keeping my
It's
attention, and
interesting.
I'm sticking with it. I'm staying up on it as much as I can. But I'm also it's one of those things where I was like, unless it like really ramps up, I don't ever see myself going back to it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? It's one of those things I'm gonna be like, I'm glad I experienced that and checked that out because now I can check that off my list.
and
And
that's
keep
what I
talking
want.
about
And that's what I want with it. Anyway, today, speaking of what we want with it,
so much to watch, but we made time. We squeezed in a
we
little
made
90
time to
minutes for
watch.
this little take me back to 2002, Joe. Resident Evil. Could the Matrix was hot in our fresh in our minds.
The Matrix was. This movie was like, you know what's really cool? The Matrix and Equilibrium. Also, Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead did not come out yet.
This predates 28 Days Later. Predates Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead. This could be the first action zombie
But
movie.
it,
I'm
it
not sure.
has it like has those zombies like they move. I mean, not as quick, but pretty fucking quick.
Yeah, it has a couple
Uh
of them. Like
anyway,
they do the
so
start. They do the lurch, like where they lurch forward with a
yes.
couple. They like lumber until they can like strike when they're close.
So we decided to pick this movie because Brian's a fan.
Yeah. I
Uh
mean, I would say this franchise is like a guilty pleasure
yeah,
franchise for me.
yeah. And I
I would never defend it, but I enjoy it.
I never gave it the time of day. I think I saw it in probably 2003 at some point because I would have been 10. Yeah, I
Cool.
saw it at some point. Didn't click, but I get it. Uh, what's your relationship like with the video games?
So I think anybody like my age who's like a teenager in the PS1 era played Resident Evil, the first
Hmm.
Resident Evil. I mean, it was like a staple. It was
Got
one of the
two.
biggest. It was a lot of people I know played 2. I did not follow it to 2. I
Okay,
did
because I
not
know
really follow up
2.
with 2.
I remember
I
2
I
being
agree
very
with you
big.
that 2 is probably the one that permeated even more
Yeah,
because it's like the aliens thing where like the one that's a little more like actiony and a little
and
more
I
it,
believe it had a different camera, like a gameplay mechanic that
oh
we're
yeah.
more used
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
today. It was more of the like not full first person, but like you watch like anyway.
But and then since then I've dipped in and out. Like I played 4 and
Hmm.
I played 6. You know what I mean? I
I
kind of like
played. So you have my relationship with it. I played 4 as one of my favorite games of all time.
yeah,
I
4 is a
played it.
fun game. And
I
I didn't even play that one until kind of recently, within
I
the
played
last
that.
year or two.
Oh shit! I played that twice on the GameCube. I own it on the PS2 as well, but I never like played it on the PS2. I just own it. Uh, and I have not played any of their. They did a remaster where they added things and stripped things in, and
I think that's the one I played.
yeah, I've just if I'm gonna play it, I'll go put the GameCube one in. I felt
Sure.
or like, but yeah, so I have that life with it. And then 2 years ago, I played Resident Evil 2, but like the PS4 remaster.
Okay.
It's a very different. It's
Sure.
essentially a new game. It's same, but it's with Leon still. It's the
Like the
same.
story's the same, but the mechanics are
Yeah,
upgraded, obviously. Yeah.
it's with Leon.
Hmm.
But that's really where all I've played. I think I tried to play a few others and always like,
Yeah, like I said, I kind of dipped in and out. I was not like a huge fan of the franchise, and I don't really know. Like I said, the movies. I don't know. They just kind of got to me. It's like I didn't even. It wasn't even at first. It was like I watched them. I was like, yeah, these are fun. And then by the time like the third one was out, I was like, man, I kind of like these movies.
they're horror Fast and Furious.
Absolutely, that's perfect. And like I
Uh,
said, we rag on the early 2000s all the time. The culture of the early 2000s was total garbage, as can be seen in the fucking horrific techno metal soundtrack to this
but
movie.
but I don't
It's
think it could be
repugnant.
but it couldn't. This is something you can't duplicate, right? It'd be like if someone was like, I need to make today if they were like, because everyone wants to make things as they were from
Sure, well,
2000
like a
or like
retro kind of like, yeah,
you couldn't replicate it because what this did is how like that soundtrack kind of works in like Fight Club, but it's toned down. It's just the techno-y. Like it
yeah.
does. It works for
Well, he
the sound.
knows when to use it. He knows when he
This
doesn't just like blare it all the
this
time.
movie is like audio drop. Bam. It reminded me of actually this week also once again on and watch at work. There's someone on TikTok. They re-edited a lot of Batman Begins with like a butt rock like new metal soundtrack when like just the
Okay,
action start. And guy sent me the link and I put the whole movie on. It's the same movie. It just has like,
yeah,
Nickelback playing and like
that's
fucking
hilarious.
chop suey going on and it had that where it was like, oh, we're just blaring this over as if there's no editing to the music. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, this movie ends with a Slipknot song, and I wouldn't want it any other way.
The Slipknot music video's on the Blu-ray, by the way.
They needed, what movie needed to be more like this? Ben Affleck's Daredevil.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, the thing is, Ben Affleck's Daredevil, like, it didn't go far enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It was like it pulled back a little too much. It's like if you're gonna be this, you got to go all the
the
way. And
silly.
this movie fully goes all the way. Now, I will say, for the in comparison to the rest of the franchise, this is a very straightforward. Like the plot, it's got kind of a pretty straightforward kind of
Mm-hmm.
like like mystery plot, and it's pretty good at balancing its action and horror. It hits beats from both tropes pretty amply, um
Yeah, and I think adding to it, I mean, you have Paul W.S. Anderson directing it, and I think that's really important to note because he made Mortal Kombat,
and he made Event
uh,
Horizon.
and his best movie he made Event Horizon. But I just want to make sure I have his directing credits up. But prior to this, like he's the only guy to make a video game movie and people go, it works.
Yeah, Mortal Kombat
Um,
would be considered a success even though it's pretty
People have its problem. It's
bad.
as we just said, these are all guilty pleasures. I enjoy it, but he makes that. Event Horizon's a legit fucking awesome horror movie,
Oh yeah, it
sci-fi
is.
horror. Then he goes Resident Evil, and then basically I'm looking at his IMDb. That's his bread and butter. I mean,
Yeah, he
he does,
either directs or produces all of them.
yeah.
Like he
With and
doesn't direct every single one, but he directs quite a few of them.
his wife is Mila Jovovich.
Oh, the eternally hot. Oh my
Yeah,
god, she's
she
so fucking beautiful.
she
She has
she
like a perfect face. It's insane.
she just she makes this movie go up by like 5 stars.
Yeah.
Just generally just out of looks.
Well, and I'll tell you what was weird is like you forget how they were really like because this is right around Fast and Furious era too. Like they really thought Michelle Rodriguez was going to be like a lead.
I listen. I love the Fast movies.
And you do.
She is such a bad actress.
Okay, but I was gonna say this is the best use of Michelle Rodriguez. This movie
She don't
uses
bother
her
me in this movie.
perfect.
She don't
Like
bother me in this movie. But she is
this is
typecast
exactly
as
the level I want to see. This and the new Dungeons and Dragons movie are the
you're
two.
fine in
That's
that.
like
She
perfect.
she was they she's typecast as this like badass, and her problem to me is I always just think she acts as if what a little kid thinks like a badass is in every movie, so I can't take her serious. It's a me problem. As
Yeah,
a
no,
ba-
and that's
like
not that's fair though.
like you know what the comparison is, and I apologize. This is another woman I'm comparing it to is uh in Avengers, Colby Smulders
Yeah.
from How I Met Your Mother.
Mhm.
Yeah, I can't believe her as this tough person and
Yeah.
badass. Like it just doesn't come through on screen.
It's like when they cast Amelia Clark as Sarah Connor.
Yeah,
I was like, she looks like she's wearing a Sarah Connor
that's
costume.
that's Michelle Rodriguez for me in every movie, even the fast movies, which I love. I'm
See, I
like,
think Michelle Rodriguez is more believable than those girls, but because she just has a harder look,
yes,
like
but I look
not. And
past.
I actually think Michelle Rodriguez is pretty attractive,
She
but she's
is.
got like a stern face,
Oh
like
yeah, that's why she's like typecast. Anyway, yeah, it wasn't distracting this movie. I think her playing like the cop helps, and although you know what, it makes me laugh so much in this movie because she's the zombie trope where it's like I got
she's
bit,
the
but
slow turn. She's the
I got
I'm
bit,
bit.
but it's
Yeah.
only gonna come and play when it serves the plot because it's a slow burn. But we already established because this movie has a lot of fucking exposition that once you get taught, when basically instantly, once you get bit or scratched or by any of these things,
Well,
you're donezo.
we haven't gotten into the movie really at all, but I
No,
do
you
love.
lead.
It's literally like we know Michelle Rodriguez's bit for a while, and then they have the exposition where she finds out that once you're bit, you turn and there's nothing you can do, and then it's like the next scene she gets bit like 4 more times. It's like, well, now that she knows, we can just go ahead and go nuts on it. Now that we already know she's turning. So anyway,
Right.
okay. So let's rewind it back. Let's go all the way to the beginning, and we'll
Okay.
just talk about
So we
like
have
I'll try to.
Alice.
I think we'll try to give it a rundown, and we'll just
Yeah.
talk as we go, and hopefully it'll be pretty good. Movie starts with pretty. I think a pretty fun like
Good
opening
intro.
infection sequence, right? Like
Yeah.
you see somebody in a lab. They they take a suit, they take a briefcase. They have obviously a bunch of whatever T virus in there. They put it in the suitcase. They walk out, and as they walk out, they break a vial. We see them leave, and then the building like detects that the T virus is out and locks down the building and decides to kill everyone in the building. Now,
Uh,
there's a couple things here. Um, First of all, like, why doesn't the it just you like why is it so creative? Why doesn't it just use like the building clearly has a haylock system or something where they could just gas everybody
nope.
at
It has.
once?
It has to be like a Rube Goldberg type.
But you got, well, these people I'm going to drown in the lab, and these people I'm going to taunt with the elevator. They,
That's the best.
they do some mad fake outs at the
The
elevator.
best sequence is the elevator sequence of the woman's head caught in the fucking thing and just going, oh. And like, also, no one's trying to pry the thing open. They're
No.
just standing back, like, oh,
It's
what
like,
do we do?
ah! Yeah, they're just like waiting for her to get her head lopped off.
Um,
But
it
but we do get some fun. This is a fun sequence. It reminds me of the beginning of Ghost Ship, where you got a lot of fun
yes,
stuff at
I
the
have
very
the same
beginning.
note. I have the same note. This movie has a lot of, in a good way, like influences of other movies in it.
Well, I would say this is like
Let's go. It's
it's a couple of years later, and like this is like a better version of something like a 13 Ghosts or
why are you saying all of my takes? Because when they're below, when they, when we get Alice and they're taken in, they have to go underground and through the whole thing, and the catalyst of the movie. First, I was, oh, this is very much like 13 Ghosts, how there's different stops and things going on, and
yeah, different
you're just,
traps
you
and
know what?
different.
I'm just like keep talking because those were my exact.
I'm stealing right out of Joe's note. Joe, I christened a new podcasting notebook. The Power of the Dragon is in me.
I have
So
4 notes when this movie, and then I got into the movie and I stopped writing notes.
that's the best thing. I love it. There's something to be said for a movie where you're trying to take notes and then about halfway through you just stop and you're just like, no, I have to watch.
Yeah,
I can't look away.
honestly, I rewound too many times.
Like, wait, what? So after our opening infection, right? We cut to Mia Jovovich waking up naked. One of two times she's going to do this in the
It's
movie.
pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
Everybody loves when Mia Jovovich wakes up naked. We love her. I'm sorry, it's actually Jovovich. I've been saying it wrong for so long. I sometimes will slip into that. It's Jovovich. um, uh, but she wakes up in a beautiful mansion, which we should note that that is part of the reason we chose this movie was because of this big, beautiful house that it starts out in. Because Joe's been house shopping, and we wanted something that wasn't like a haunted house movie, but like
Yeah.
house adjacent. So
And we were just like, we haven't
and I
done a
love that the
camp. We
house
haven't
is
done.
actually just a very tiny part of the movie.
Yeah, we haven't done camp in a while either. Like something just
true.
silly.
Also, like we should say that this movie it does kind of do that annoying thing where it's not very much like any of the games that were out at that time. Like it's Resident Evil in name only, kind of. It's like
Yeah, I did a little reading about it. It's like they took just influence of like the second and third game,
I mean,
from
there's scenes. I was gonna say there's a moment I would see the bird jump scare when she goes out on the balcony at the house, and the birds freak her out. That's kind of like in the game. That
yeah,
bird
same with
jump.
the
The
use
first
of
time you
like
go out onto outside the house onto like a walkway, some birds scare you. I felt like that was like a nod to the first game.
the shots from her eye, like
And obviously, you got the dogs later in the lab. They're in the house in the first game, but
yeah,
you're
yeah, and the terminology. I mean, it's all there. It's just
but
they
this
could
one
probably.
doesn't like latch on. Like if they made this movie now, it would be a straight up adaptation of the first
Well,
game.
didn't they reboot this franchise
They
on
did a
Netflix?
show. They did a show.
Was it a show? Was it live action?
Yes.
Oh shit! I thought it was animated for some
Nah, I
reason.
never saw it. I heard it was pretty bad.
Yeah,
And I was like, I already have bad Resident Evil movies. What do I need to watch this for?
because I know as like someone who's only used to the fourth movie, right, or the fourth game.
Mhm.
That was always the question: is like, why don't you just do like that movie?
Yeah, an adaptation of the
Um,
fourth game would be rad.
and it's just like president's daughter kidnapped. It's on an island. It's in Mexico with zombies. It's terrifying because also you can make, you know, like I feel like
It's kind of like it's like Resident Evil, but it's zombies, but it's also kind of like a folk horror kind of
folk
vibe
horror. I was
to
gonna
it.
say
Yeah,
you could folk horror is terrifying, especially like foreign folk horror, like it just has an extra bit of like hooks into you. Like you could do all of that while doing that movie and still having like the weirdness of Resident Evil, right? Like a big part of it is like the monsters.
yeah, oh
But
yeah, absolutely.
I regress.
So Mia
The
wakes up. So we're talking about Mia. She's wandering
yeah.
around. She doesn't have a memory. She does the total recall handwriting test where she sees a note and she writes herself to see if the handwriting's the same to tell if she's the one who wrote the note. I don't know. I always like that when in amnesia movies when they work that in. That's just a fun little thing that the amnesia movies sometimes do.
I think this does it pretty well.
Yeah, yeah, it's a good little trope. So she's walking around, kind of trying to figure things out, and then SWAT team comes in, kind of like. Well, no, wait, I'm sorry. She runs into that cop first. He's like, there's a cop who shows up, and is like, and just as he's like, we got to get out of here, whatever. Boom! SWAT team hits the house, kind of grabs them both up, tells them that there's been an event down that this house that they're in. Because obviously she doesn't have her memory. The cop knows or doesn't know like has memory but doesn't know anything. He's just like an idiot. He's just like a guy who stumbled. We'll find out later why he's there, but like he doesn't have any inside information. So they tell her and him that the house is actually just like a fancy secret entrance to this facility, this Raccoon City facility. Huge underground offices and labs and so on and so forth for the big company that's like we get a little exposition at the top that we didn't talk about, but it's just like, hey, the umbrella company is involved in everything. They're bad, you know.
Yeah. Like what are we doing?
um, so they're gonna go in. They have to go into the facility and like see what happened and reset the mainframe or shut down the AI. They know that the AI went crazy and killed everybody. They don't know why, so they got to shut it down or whatever. Um, I wanted to say the guy who plays the head of the SWAT team, his name's Colin Salmon. I really like him. He plays a similar role in the first AVP movie, which came out like 2 years later, which is also Paul W.S. Anderson.
I was gonna say the same director,
Yeah.
and because it's weird, like except for Mila Jovovich, I mean, it's really a cast of people. I'm like, who are you? You look like the one guy looks just like Thomas Jane, and I'm like, whoa, you should be
Thomas Jane, and I put it's his name's James Purefoy, and I think he's kind of more famous now than he was back then. But he looks like Tom Jane and Hugh Jackman had a baby. Like it's like a perfect meld. Sometimes he turns his head, and I'm like, oh, he looks like Hugh Jackman there.
Yeah, it's so, but yeah, there's, and I mean, there's like, the acting's pretty weak, but like everyone has some pretty like fun chemistry.
Yeah, well, a lot of these, these people are there to get killed. It's a zombie movie, so we know that there's a lot of people that are kind of they're fodder, But I was going to say I kind of would have loved nothing against Colin Salmon, but I would have loved if it was Peter Mensa in that role from Jason X and also from the Starz show Spartacus. Great actor, great look. Similar vibe to this guy, so nothing to take away from him. I just have a preference. I like that guy.
You like Jason X?
I like Peter Mensa. What can I say?
What?
So they're heading down to the facility. They find James Purefoy, who I believe his name is Spence, is like in the little train car that they need to use to go down to the facility. He's like tucked away in there for some reason. Nobody seems suspicious about that, by the way.
There's a train car down there.
Nobody makes any connection that like this guy is in the car and there's this. Nobody knows why he's there. Nobody really. They're just like, oh well, come along with us, I guess.
Why would you?
But he's like Mia Jovovich. He doesn't remember anything anyway. They tell him and her that you guys are like partners. You live at the house pretending to be a married couple, but you're agents for us. So that's their whole deal.
Well, why would you?
Yeah. So, but nobody questions like why he wasn't in the house with her, why he was down there. Nobody's really wondering about that. But I guess they can't find out anyway. This first scene, like anytime you have soldiers walking around a fucking facility where some crazy shit's been going down and there's like wreckage, I'm gonna think of aliens. I can't see anything but aliens. Like when I see
very alien.
Guys, I mean, there's mayhem everywhere, dead bodies.
But this movie has a good couple scenes of that mayhem of just like here's a slaughter,
yeah,
and we're gonna move like we're not there fully yet. The best scene happens too early in the movie.
Oh yeah. We'll get there pretty quickly here, right? I mean,
well, you have to mention which apologies really like. So they also big part of they imply that there's this like generative AI thing called the Red Queen
the Red Queen runs the facility, yeah.
Who runs the facility and she tricks herself as the most unbelievable. You would just walk right through little girl.
Yeah, that's how she presents herself, which is a fun little effect. She's very
supposed to be creepy.
They they have to go shut her down, and the way to get there is through what I assume you were talking about, the laser hallway, which I agree is
it's the best
scene in the movie, but it's also maybe like the most iconic scene in the whole franchise. They even go back to it at least one of the sequels, in at least one of the sequels. Absolutely, they go back to
it. I mean, it's it has to be an homage to Cube.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
But the way
W.S. Anderson watched Cube, come on.
But the way it's done, and then you have a blank.
Well, the escalation is really good. So the first one, comes across and they duck and it gets the one girl, and it cuts off the guy's hand, gets the guy's hand, and then they're able to like jump over it. But then it does the fake out where he jumps and it jumps too, and it gets the guy who jumped up.
And then it just takes all the diamonds, cuts them right through.
It does a fence. It basically does a chain link fence on our boy.
And you see his body just sloop down in like a little bit of like the stainless steel in the background.
Yeah, they're really good about like they just start to show it, and then they kind of like pan in so it goes out of focus as he kind of falls apart into a pile of diced meat.
What I found so interesting reading a little bit about this movie is its original rating was NC-17, and it had like it had a lot more violence and nudity in it. And then
where would you put nudity in this movie?
I guess probably just more of like Amelia walking around.
I mean, yeah, they
imagine.
do have a flashback scene of her and the Spence dude banging, so I guess you could add some in there.
Yeah, like she's like the shower, this and that, or on the table. I'm just thinking of places, but
Yeah.
what it said was, okay, so she, W.S. Anderson was like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna redo this version again. We're gonna release that version one day again, and then just like nothing was ever said of it, and it was like, you know what? I assume it was like we got our R. It's a big franchise now. No need to give this release out again. Thank you, because at least someone's not doing that of every project they're doing.
True, yeah. Hey, he's got to go make a Monster Hunter movie or whatever. Like,
let's guys. I know I made this one movie. I wrote contracts. I agreed, but you know what? Also be cool if I just made a different one while we were doing it, and then we released it. If this doesn't go my way, and then we could always go. Well, they didn't give me the version I wanted.
yeah.
Hey, that's different.
Hey, or maybe you could just like make a movie and then release a bullshit undercut version and tell everybody that it's not the real version, but you're just going to release it first for no reason, even though everybody knows you're going to release another version in like 6 months or whatever.
Because even this is pre all of this bullshit. Dawn of the Dead. It has one of those classic unrated versions. This and that. It adds nothing to it.
In the early 2000s, every movie got an unrated.
It added just the birth of the baby, the zombie baby, a little more.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think maybe a couple extra seconds of nudity or something.
Yeah, and that was great for me in 2004. It was great.
Well, sure, you needed that.
I needed that DVD.
You needed to see the guy from Modern Family banging a girl from behind.
Yeah. How else am I supposed to come?
Yeah, well, obviously.
But today, that cut of Zack Snyder means so much. It means I have a whole different movie. Anyway, I'm bringing this up because I want to thank Paul W.S. Anderson for not just being like, here's my NC-17 version.
Yeah. I love this scene. I love it's a thing again, like everything goes back to Alien for me, but I always love in a movie where you've got like a super capable leader who is then one of the first guys to get annihilated, and then you're just like, okay, well now we're rudderless. Like now you always got a couple dudes who think they should be in charge now, and you got, people who are freaked out because the person that was like the stable person is gone. It's just a very excellent horror situation to do that.
It is. It also really just helps, like, we're set up this is the common trope, like Alien, and sense, oh, Mila Jovovich or Alice, you're going to be maybe the damsel in distress type we're going to take care of, especially she's in the red dress the whole time, and it just becomes so much more badass and part of her character to have all of that, and not just be, like, even in, like, tactical shit.
Yeah.
But this movie pulls from other influences in the right way.
Well, absolutely.
Like I said, I do find the movie itself though a little too sporadic for me to truly grasp me, but I get
it's got that hyperactivity of like an early 2000s movie.
Yeah, I get its guilty pleasure.
Directed too much like a music video.
I get its guilty pleasureness, though. Also on this wiki, it says that is James Cameron's also guilty pleasure movie.
Good for him.
Which we all need them.
They do. I thought it was funny. They have the scene where the people get diced or whatever, and then it's like, oh no, she shut down this time. Go ahead, you can go in. And everybody has the appropriate reaction, which I liked. They're like, no, fuck that.
We're good.
Step through the pile of my boss that's now in the middle of the hall in here. The one guy is probably still writhing because he just he's
got a little lid cut.
Yeah.
The movie has a comedic, which again, you need them for deaths, a comedic amount of people that just are like, and here's more people to come in and die.
Yeah, absolutely, it does. So they go in, they shut down the Red Queen. This is before she doesn't do her exposition dump yet.
No.
They just go in and shut her down. She does the iconic, you're all going to die down here. But she doesn't do her whole exposition dump just yet. They shut her down, and then they go down to the monster basement, I guess.
It's basically what it is. It's the
This is like
basement where they're
this is a
keeping.
problem I have with this movie. Why? I think I started to mention this before. Why are the corporate offices in the same underground thing as the monster lab?
Because
Why
you
can't
need it
why can't
all
the
to
people in
be.
cubicles just be in a regular building up in Raccoon City? Raccoon City is right above them, right? Why
Hmm.
can't they just be in a regular office building and just use the underground shit for like the dangerous stuff? Why do you have to have a fake office building down there too?
To trick the people who want to go down in the source.
Do they also live like they have the fake windows where people look outside, but do people think they're going home, but it's actually they're still underground? Is it that elaborate, you think?
No, I have to think. I have to imagine it's in a world where these people are like, yeah, I clock in, I go to my office is just happens to be underground, but I get to go back home and live in Raccoon City. Like Raccoon City is very sorry, I'm a little itchy. Raccoon City is very yeah, Raccoon City uh is very it's all so controlled and like this is what goes
Well,
on and
it's a company town.
yeah.
It's the giant
So
version of a
I
company
think
town.
that is just where their offices are, and then everything we're seeing and below the monster thing is just like here's an extra level of that only certain people get to that have
Like I
clearances.
get having the labs, they obviously I get having, what but like I just don't understand why like the regular boring office cubicle jobs are also housed there. I just wouldn't do that.
Yeah,
It makes for a lot more zombies, I'll tell you that.
well, I have such a love-hate relationship with the zombies, and like this is like
I'll tell you what, the CGI in this movie does a really good job of recreating the PS1 effects from the first game.
I think the dogs look pretty good.
The dogs look well. The dog has a lot of practical makeup on the dog,
Yeah.
and most of the zombies that are just regular zombies are fine. But there's one in this big, like we get our first big zombie attack scene here finally, like, and they do a good job of like kind of slow building it. Like I like the girl who bites Michelle Rodriguez, and then like is what they're doing. It's real Shaun of the Dead. The guy she's wandered towards. He's trying to warn her, stay back. I'm gonna. And they shoots her in both legs, and she doesn't go down. And then Michelle Rodriguez shoots her, and she like flies across the room.
And the
I
guy's
like
head's
all
like
that,
falling
and then I love
off.
the dragging. The sound of the dragging axe is fun. Like that's a fun beat where they're all like hearing that coming. Um, I
But
like that there's a at least one zombie who looks like Bub from Day of the Dead.
oh yeah.
I was like, that guy. There's no way they didn't purposely make that guy look
Well,
like he's like a
George
big tall guy with blue overalls
yeah.
on
Well,
and stuff.
It was definitely on purpose. George A. Romero was like attached to direct this for most of the 90s and like helping develop whatever and then left because like didn't like the script, couldn't figure it out. And honestly, I think
And
we're
he was probably right because the
yeah,
script is weird and
I
fucked up.
think we're better off because the movie is being this weird like music video action movie. I think serves its time better than just being like a like I don't
Well, it
see it.
gives it its own style. Wouldn't want this to just be a Romero zombie movie
That's
because
what I
I
say.
want
I don't
like
think it serves well to be Romero Zombie because, like, I know he created it all, but that doesn't mean like he was still making good ones in 2002.
right. We Land of the Dead exists. We know what this movie would have been like.
It would have been. It probably would have been. I have no fact on this, but I bet you he took what he wanted of years of development and put some of that in Land of the Dead
Of course. Why
because that's
wouldn't
just
you?
how these. That's how.
Yeah,
So he was in
absolutely.
development for a long time to get this off the ground. From what it reads as, and basically was like. And then apparently, like most people that worked on the movie were like, I don't get the problems of the script and things because it was pretty strong when he was on it.
No, I actually like. I think, like I said, I think definitely, especially compared to how off the rails and how like deep they get into the lore and the and kind of like retconning things and this, that, and the other. I think this one is a pretty straightforward kind of like mystery action
Yeah,
horror. It's
it,
pretty. The
this
the 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 mystery plot is you can follow it and it like when they give the exposition, it makes sense. I think it's fine.
I think it's funny that this movie is also so much of its time where movies don't really begin anymore with a VO of this is what happened and now you're here.
Yeah.
And the movie doesn't really even need that.
No, it doesn't, because all that stuff would have come out because the whole reason that you find out that what's going on is that there's like Mia Jovovich was talking to a whistleblower, so like we would have found out in exposition with that
Yes.
whistleblower about all the bad shit that the company was into, or
Yeah,
like
so
later when
Mila,
the Red Queen does her exposition, we could have dropped it there. We didn't need a bumper up top too.
so yeah, Alice's thing, and she's not really called Alice because she has amnesia, but and Brian, you just kind of reveal this, kind of get this along a little bit, is she's slowly realizing she was one of this people, a security person, like she was one of the top security people
Well,
in the
she
company.
remembers now. She's starting to get some memories back, and she remembers that she was meeting with someone and was gonna like give them access.
She was going to give them access to help get that
and it's the
virus
girl we
out.
saw in the opening scene in the infection scene at the
Yeah,
beginning.
and
She was gonna
basically
give them access. She had all the behind the scenes shit, and she's like, "But it's gonna cost you one thing." And then we don't see what she
she was
said.
going to hand over the virus.
Yeah. She's going to give them all the evidence they need to bring down Umbrella, but for a price. This is also. I guess we're jumping ahead a little bit because
yeah, we could jump through it. I mean,
I did want to. We during the big shoot up with the zombies. Some of the there's some weird stasis things down in the basement that get damaged, and a monster escapes. But I was wondering, if the AI that runs the building is worried about the infection escaping so much so that it gassed all the non-infected humans, why would it not gas all the crazy monsters that are in stasis that can give you the T virus by scratching you or biting you also?
Cause I think the AI likes them. I think they're in cahoots.
The AI was like, "Oh, I don't want these zombies to get out, but I also don't want to ruin my special pet project of these monsters."
Yeah, that's the logical answer. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
have an answer for that, but
I don't know. I just
because
thought if the AI is programmed to worry about the infection getting out, you would think it would kill anything with the infection. But I guess
anything with
maybe
a pulse, it should be dead. It should be dead. Like, uh, honestly, some of
maybe he
this,
didn't see them as a threat because they were still in stasis. It wasn't until they got damaged and they broke out or whatever.
some of the
But
stuff too is just, oh, this was. It feels like, oh, this was in the game. We need to have monsters crawling on the ceiling.
yeah, we got to have a liquor because liquors are in the game.
Yeah, and this is about when the liquors come about too, right? Like seeing the zombies and shit, and the liquors kind of come around.
This is also where we get our dog scene you were talking about.
Yeah, cool scene. Mila Jovovich is just
I
face
like that they
kicking.
justify the like. I like that. I know that dogs are like a staple of the franchise, and I like that they go out of their way to justify not only that there's dogs there, but the way they get the damage to make them look all gross and shit is cool and interesting. But it's funny that again later in the franchise they're just around. Like the bad guy will just have Dobermans who are zombie Dobermans. It's like, wait, did you see the first movie too? Did you just are you a
Is that what
fan?
happens in the other movies?
Yeah. Like there's like a bad guy who totally has like a couple of pet zombie Dobermans, and she always in almost every movie she has to jump and spin kick a dog.
Well,
I'm
it's her
not
thing.
lying. That like that is a trope that appears in this franchise multiple times.
I think I'm gonna watch these movies because, like I said, it is enjoyable to have. It is it is humor. It
Do a
is
follow-up
interesting.
episode when we cover the rest of the franchise.
It is interesting to see that for the time it was released, the movies weren't doing this, and every movie does this now. It doesn't have numbers in their in the movie names and sequels,
No.
which honestly kind of frustrating as someone trying to watch. Like
But
the movies
also,
don't do
you
that
can
today.
kind of watch them out of order in a way. There's like they're weirdly all very different. Like
Well, so this one, I was like, and by the way, I got
all you
three
need to
minutes.
know when you're watching a Resident Evil movie is this one of the one where Alice has powers, or is this one where Alice doesn't have
She gets
powers?
powers. Shit. I after I finished this one, because I really liked how it ended, because I guess it reminded me of the video game.
Sure.
I was like, okay, I'll go find the next one. I only watched 4 minutes because then I had to go do something else. It wasn't the movie's fault. But even that, I was like, oh, you just gave me a nice recap of the movie I just watched that I have to talk about tonight. Oh, and then we're just gonna ignore the part that you cliffhangered the last movie on. We're gonna just catch you up to speed that she's already like gone through the city and things are going. Oh, okay. So
right, we're not picking up on that. No, this is different now.
So good to know when I go through it that it's very. But yeah, it is interesting to see at the time. Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 3. Uh, that trend of not naming things with numbers really doesn't
Yeah, this
start.
one, these ones are very confusing. You cannot tell which one you're watching based on the name at
It
all.
goes with
Like, you don't
Resident
know where
Evil.
you are in the franchise based on the name at all. I
No.
do always remember that the desert one is the third one.
So it's Apocalypse is the second one.
And then it's Annihilation or something is the third one, or
Beats. I don't have that. Oh, we got Apocalypse, then Extinction,
Extinction,
Afterlife,
Afterlife,
Retribution,
Retribution,
the final chapter,
and
and
weirdly
then
that has been the final chapter. A lot of times
and
when they say that, they don't mean it.
and he had directing. He did not direct the second or third films because he was contractually obligated to make AVP and Death Race.
Oh, we made Death Race too.
It adds up.
And by Death Race 2, I mean Death Race also, not Death Race 2.
I know what you meant. So anyway, this franchise it's very different for the time the movie came out because I feel like that trend doesn't start a few years later until you have like Transformers. No, that's not true. I think it did. Like Pirates of the Caribbean did the same thing.
Yeah, but those all come after this. I mean, this is 2002,
2002
and
did
this
not do that.
and the sequel's like pretty quick after, probably
Because
within 2 or 3 years.
even like let's say, I think I'm spending too much time on this topic, but like, even like Batman and Batman Returns, pretty straightforward because they both star Michael Keaton.
The Underworld movies started doing it, or like right around the same time they were doing it.
I don't know how those two movies. I know they're different worlds. They feel
They
like
feel like they should cross over, right?
they feel like it should be like Resident Evil versus Underworld, and
Yeah.
then they just
I
scissor.
legitimately like the first three Underworld movies a lot.
What's the other movie franchise? There's another franchise that they tried to get Mila Jovovich to be an action star in another. Um, there was another like thing that was very Resident Evil like.
Ultraviolet.
Ultraviolet. Yep.
I saw that in the theater. That's a very bad movie.
Oh, it looked terrible, but I remember the ads. I remember the movie.
It was basically her doing an Eon Flux, which also wasn't a good movie.
Yeah, same movie. Same movie.
Yeah, the Eon Flux cartoon was good though. That's fun.
So anyway,
It's a weird one.
Mila
Weird and
Jovovich
horny.
that's a good thing. All right.
Where
So
were we? Dogs. She's Jason Bourning, where she's like remembering how to fight even though she doesn't know how to fight, and she jump kicks a dog. I don't remember if she's like, they might retcon it later in the franchise that she's actually already infected with the T virus here and is like experiencing abilities because of that. I don't know. I definitely, this movie you're just supposed to think she's a badass and she's remembering to be a badass.
yeah,
This is also where we get where we find out that the cop is the brother of the girl that Mia Jovovich is having the flashbacks about meeting with. We see the zombie sister walks up to him and he's all like, duh, sister, everyone I've met here has been a flesh-eating zombie, but maybe you're not. Hug me, and then she tries to bite him, obviously, and she doesn't bite him, but Mia Jovovich comes in and caves her skull in with a big glass, like, paperweight or something.
it's goofy. I mean,
Yeah.
the movie. I would like to. This would be one of those movies. I know we have so much more to talk about in the sense. Like if we were hanging out and we want to throw something silly on that we could chat during, and
Yeah.
and like
This is a
drink.
great, like, stop every 10 minutes and look to see what cool thing is
Yeah,
happening.
drink when there's a zombie bite, or like some corny line, or Michelle Rodriguez just looks has a scour. Like that would be fun. But so
after this, they decide to go back to the Red Queen. They're gonna fire her back up, and basically like threaten her with shutdown to help them find a way out of here, out of the facility. They go to her. This is where she does her exposition dump and basically tells them what the T virus is, tells them how it makes zombies, tells them that Michelle Rodriguez is going to be a zombie because she's been bitten.
Oh, we got to talk about that because it is one of the more interesting parts though with the AI. Because the AI goes, or the Red Queen goes, okay, I'll let you guys go, no problem, but you got to give me your friend.
Hold on, that part comes later.
We can go. We
That's when they're in the lab. Well, I got just a little bit more though. Because
apologies. I'll let you cook.
We'll just. It won't take long. We'll get there. We're actually burning through pretty good. The Red Queen does agree to work with them. They go to what is like a weird sewer. Why does this building have a sewer? Like, why is there a weird wet Freddy basement in this building?
We already know there's more underground.
Yeah, and also, are they going up or down? Because they should be moving up to get to the surface, but this is like a sewer, which makes you think it would be down?
Raccoon City has terrible planning.
Well, that's the thing, though. These aren't Raccoon City sewers. These are like a part of the building that just looks like a sewer.
Yeah, but this building was definitely made in part of... Because look how she escapes also at the end.
Yeah, it's true.
It's all part of the city structure. Like, the city's probably set up.
Well, she comes up through the house. They come back out through the house.
I know, but I'm saying the city's probably set up like how like the Vatican, everything's around every road leads straight to the Vatican.
Well, I do think too we see in that cool 3D model, which I didn't mention earlier, but that was a very cool thing in 2002. The 3D underground model of the facility underneath Raccoon City, and you do see that there's a main shaft right from the city that goes down, but then the mansion is like an offshoot. It's like out here, that's a second.
It's very that technology is so very ooh, this is a video game. There's a lot of little things in this where this is a video game. Because what this movie did also was it spawned, because this movie made a good chunk of change. Spawned the desire to make other action horror movie video games.
And this, you know what? Honestly, this fucking Paul W. Anderson needs to answer for the crime of inspiring Uwe Boll.
I was gonna say you got Doom. I think the biggest offender is Doom.
Well, I mean, all the Uwe Boll movies are. I mean, the first House of the Dead. Fucking Blood Rain.
Forgot about those two.
All that shit. All the Uwe Boll. Alone in the Dark. He did a bunch of them, and they're all basically bullshit versions of the Resident Evil movies.
And that's why. That's why none of these properties trust people to make movies or TV shows out of their properties.
And also why the public learned to discount video game movies out of hand. They had such an uphill battle because everything they pumped out was so garbage.
Because it was Uwe Boll.
Right. Because he made 7 of the 10 video game movies that came out in a decade. He made all the shit.
I completely fucking forgot about the Blood Rain.
He made 3 of those too. He made a bunch of...
I'm on it. He directed all of them.
Yeah, he did.
It's
he made a movie with fucking Jason Statham made a Uwe Boll movie. It's messed up. So there's a couple things I like here. I'm just gonna burn through them quick. I like Michelle Rodriguez taunting the zombies with her blood, where she's perched up and she's dripping blood on them and making them crazy.
That was pretty dope.
I like the guy we talked about how this movie does action and zombie tropes, which is part of what makes it fun. It's you have stuff the zombie side with her, the slow bite, the person in the group who's slowly turning from a bite, or during one of the zombie sequences we see a guy dragged in and torn apart by a big mob of zombies. That's such a big classic zombie thing. But I liked this one had the action kind of fake out the fake suicide where he's got one bullet and you think he's gonna kill himself, but he'd rather shoot one more zombie,
Because he even does the line reading of like, perfect.
Yeah.
All I need.
And then he's like, "You're gonna have to work for your supper." And then that guy gets to come back and be a hero before he dies later, because when they get to the lab, the flooded lab, they finally pay off the flooded lab. That's one of the parts at the beginning. It was in the trailer, obviously. And then when they're doing their aliens walkthrough at the beginning, where they're walking through the ruins, the wreckage of what had happened, you see the flooded lab with the body, and they walk by, and then as soon as they walk by, its eyes open. They
That was
finally get a
cool.
payoff. That's a great,
it's a great shot, though.
iconic shot. Yeah. Like I said, it was a big trailer shot. I remember. But they're back in that lab, so we finally get the payoff of the flooded lab, and they get attacked by the zombies there. And this is also where Spence finally gets all his memories back, and you find out we weren't sure if Mia Jovovich what her motives were. She said, there's whatever you have to, you're gonna have to do one thing for me for this information. Then you come to find out that it's just like take down Umbrella, which is like, okay, you worded it weird on purpose to make that work, but it's fine.
She's
But
not a bad guy.
So her and her partner, this guy, were apparently he thought they were in a relationship, but it seems like she thought maybe they were just like fuck buddies who like worked together. Um, One way you know that you're not important to somebody is if you have to find out shit by listening to them with a parabolic mic from like across the yard.
Yeah, I don't think we're as close as you think.
Yeah, like if you're keeping those kind of secrets where you got a spy with a parabolic mic, you guys are not a couple. But he kind of figures out what's going on with her, and in his mind, he's helping. He's like, she wants to take down Umbrella. I'll take down Umbrella in the ultimate way. I'll just like fucking set this shit loose and burn the whole thing down. And also, because I'm a huge scumbag, I'll steal the virus so that we can sell it and be rich off of that. And then that's how I will win Mia Jovovich over. It's not a great plan from him.
Sounds like a plan's gonna get you killed.
It's like he doesn't want to wait for like the a whistleblower and maybe some court hearings and this that and the other, and maybe a couple executives get fired, but Umbrella's eventually fine, just like whatever. No, he's like, Mia wants it burned down, I'll kill 1,000,000 people or whatever.
We're gonna burn it. Fucking just let it ride,
I will
baby.
literally sick a homicidal AI on a bunch of innocent people. So he finds out, he figures out he's the bad guy, but he does legitimately think he did a good thing for her. He's like surprised when she's not happy about it, She's like, "You thought this was how I wanted my dreams to come true?" He's like, "What? What?
Baby, please.
Hey, come on, baby.
Dude, he actually talk, baby. Who throws the line up there? I don't think it was him. It might have been. It was like, yeah, it was him. He was like, how much fucking money's up there? Like, we will be fine. True. And she's like, there's a lot more important things going on than just like the money. You think that was gonna work?
Yeah. But the flooded zombie bites him. So he bails out of there because in the case of shit he stole, there's antivirus. And if he can get to the antivirus, he thinks he can save himself. But little does he know the Red Queen has kind of like, she gives you the impression she's directed the liquor towards him, although I don't know how she did that. Maybe she's opened the right doors or whatever and kind of directed it towards him. We see it attack him and then mutate. And I actually like, it starts out CGI, but when it mutates, it's kind of more, they use more practical. It's like they only made a practical version of one version of the creature, and then they decide they wanted to change. The smaller one's CGI, and then when it gets bigger, it's more practicals.
Yeah,
there's still blending. CGI too.
Yeah, and I mean it's 2002 CGI. It's not,
It's better than the half zombie face earlier, or the one that's. Yeah, that looks all. Those ones look pretty bad, but
it would have worked. It would have. Hey, at 10 years old, it would have worked on me.
Yeah, I think it's honestly for 2002 CGI, it's not the worst.
I will. You know what caught my eye? Sorry, because I have the wiki on the left, and you're talking, and you know who was attached to direct this movie or write? He wrote a treatment to this. was going to direct this movie also. Urban Legends director Jamie Blanks
Really?
and Valentine director. It sounds like they also probably used some of his script for the U-Bowl because all it says about the little blurb is he attached to a nude adaptation. This is in 2000 to borrow elements from the second and third movie. I'm sorry, game. This movie's only influencer the second and third games as well. So I wonder what's there. Anyway, that's once again would be like just a very different director.
Yeah, that's a different. Like that would have been an interesting kind of do it more like a post-Scream horror movie.
Yeah, because Valentine's a Scream.
Oh yeah, Valentine's fully a Scream.
Anyway,
So is Urban Legend.
yeah, those are fun. Watch our episodes.
I like Urban. I love Urban Legend.
Urban Legend's great. We covered it before, twice. But yeah, no. So the movie like rolls in like. I also appreciate how we don't just get like. Speaking of like the screamification of things or like the teen drama things, it's like, well, actually the two were in love and it's fine. It's like one's kind of a fucked up guy when he realizes it, and Mila Jovovich is not, and like this is okay.
Right. She's like, it was fine to bang you, but I'm not gonna side. Like we weren't in love. I'm not gonna side with your crazy fucking murder plan.
Like they're committed. They're just committed to genocide.
She's like, I wanted to take down Umbrella because they were doing evil. Do you think I want you to murder a bunch of people? Does that sound like a thing I would want?
But excuse me. Yeah.
They still think they're gonna they use the antivirus on Michelle Rodriguez, even though she like is 99% zombie by now.
She should be so turned. I mean, like, I get to the points of the movie, when she has that little fake, or we still have to talk about it, but like,
we're getting there. They're following up. They got to get to the same train that Spence just got attacked on. So they're basically heading up there, knowing that fucking liquor thing is hanging around, but they don't have a choice. They got to get out of there. They get to the train, and then they do have there's like one last little like kind of quiet moment before we break off into our final action sequence. And they do. I actually really kind of like that interaction between Michelle Rodriguez and Mia Jovovich. I think that's
nice.
Really funny. I think it's really poignant, but it's also got a really funny little stinger on it. Like I think it's like one of the best written moments in the movie.
That's when she's like, because they're like, oh, good, bro, I'd kiss you if I can right now, or something.
Yeah. Well, then she's like, she has that like, when I turn, you're gonna do what you have to do. You're gonna take me out or whatever. And
she takes the gun. She's like, not yet.
And and then she like kind of nods her head. Me and Jovovich like, oh, and this is about to shoot. She's like, I'm not dead yet. She's like, I'll be taking that back. I just thought that whole little exchange was really fun and like a good little moment for them. A little, like I said, a little moment of respite right before we get into our big action.
Well, sequence. It's fine, but right about then and as well. There's before that, right? We have the Red Queen comes out and offers them the ultimatum to say, I'll let you go, but you got to give me.
That was when they were in the flooded room.
Yeah, we were talking about earlier. You told me to wait. Those people should have said, and Michelle Rodriguez as well should have been like, take care of me now. That is a smart move.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here.
Right. And she's right.
Obviously, the Red Queen still double crosses them to begin with.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we get close to the final action scene. After that, Michelle Rodriguez also, or I should say Spence, as well, saves the day from the liquor. Like she's like a good zombie.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Very Shaun of the Dead.
I like when the liquor attacks the train. I like the 360 shot where Mia Jovovich is like ducked down with the gun and they like swim and you see the claws like tearing at the outside. There's sparks. I was like, okay, you know what? That's why I hire Paul W. Sanderson to get some fucking music video looking at shit like that.
Well, you know what? This was a big movie. I just remember this movie. You guys on that with the music video look? It's probably on every early. It was on like all the early DVD trailers to be like, you should buy DVDs because it's like on VHS, but when it's on DVD, it pops.
Yeah, they would do the sweep and make the picture look clear and shit. Yeah.
And Resident Evil, the original, was one of those staple ones because it looks, you could really brighten it up.
Yeah.
And with those sweeps, I know you have the DVDs that have the trailer on.
Sure.
Not even the trailer, the include. It was like that and like The Matrix were the two ones where it was like, and Castaway, where they were like, look how much better it looks.
I remember one from Troy. It would be all the ships on the
Yep,
water.
that's another
and they'd
one.
sweep over it, and it would be all like high definition.
That's another one. But yeah, this movie's right there where it's like, and it wasn't the scene on the train with that. It was that long shot of them in the white room, I think right before the dice cutting.
Yeah.
It's the cover of the movie, I think, of just Alice looking badass.
Yeah,
Anyway,
absolutely. So yeah, we're having our big final battle with the liquor. It kills the guy who saved him, who shut down the Red Queen and saved him in the flooded room. It gets him. It slashes the cop guy. Um, and then they're just, I love they got it, they stake down its tongue to the floor and they're just about to like ram it with things. And this is the moment when Michelle Rodriguez finally turns and like steps up to get in the way. I love that she has the perfectly timed little head neck crack. Like literally the moment she cracks her neck is when she turned, when she finally made the full transition. Switch. Yeah, that was a fun little moment.
Switch.
But I like the way they kill the liquor. I like the way they stake it down and then like basically let the friction of getting like dragged by a train kill it. That's cool.
Only way. I mean, those liquors are bad. Those are hard to kill. But yeah, and then they like the two of them get more out there.
They get back to the house, but of course there's umbrella people waiting to capture them.
Well, that is what is another one of those really humorous. Like, it feels like, oh, the umbrella team. There's so many. They're just ready. They were watching this whole thing go down.
Yeah,
and they were ready.
Just waiting up top.
like Alice is there. She's like, I got it. I'm gonna do it. Like, don't worry, babe. Like, we're gonna do you. And you see the nemesis coming out of his.
Yeah, he's got like, cause he gets scratched by the liquor, so he's got like weird like tendrils already
and it looks
out of him.
It looks great. Like, all right, and then nope, they take him away, and you once again video game language.
They'll put him in the Nemesis project. Program.
And they just take her and put her up to just fucking cord. I don't know why they don't just kill her, but they put her up to cords and all these things.
I don't know exactly how much time has passed, but I would assume it's maybe 28 days later. Because she wakes up in the hospital naked and goes wandering into an empty street, just like that movie.
Yes, it is. And then Danny Boyle was like, I got to make this movie with Robert J. Oppenheimer.
Well, he knew Danny Boyle was like. It's like he got the script for the second Resident Evil movie. And it was like, what? They're not going to go back to the empty city thing? Well, I guess I'll fucking do it then.
I didn't put
I have to give him credit though. There is weirdly a really good jump scare right there at the very end when she is alone in the hospital. She's like looking around and she's like looking in a window and the room's all dark and just a dark figure walks past. I was like, that was unnecessary, but that was a really solid. It
was nice.
Like you didn't have to have that here because that's not what you're doing with this part of the movie. It kind of is like you're kind of past that part of the movie and you're into this weird. But like, just I don't know. It was a very effective little moment, I thought. And then we get the kind of iconic image of her in the empty street with all the like mayhem and then she cocks her shotgun and
I like the ending a lot, but it said that empty city was like that was straight up Resident Evil 2 video game.
Yeah,
like you're in like with a cop car van, like all that stuff. Like,
and weirdly, the Resident Evil 2 the movie does not pay that off.
Yeah, I'm kind of bummed.
It's like a totally different thing.
I want to go back and watch it, but at the same time, anyway.
No, it should because it's good. It's just different.
Fun. Yeah, it's different.
I did want to say there's an alternate ending I watched on the Blu-ray where basically like a matrixed out Alice shows up at like the headquarters and like according to Paul W. Sanderson was going to shoot like a rocket at this desk full of dudes when then the rocket would split up and each like and it would be full of little smart rockets that would go out and get all the guys.
That doesn't fit in this movie.
It's funny. And they said the reason they were gonna, and it seems like one of those things where he kind of tricked the company. It's like the production company didn't want to pay for the finale of like whatever it was CGI or whatever it was gonna take to make kind of like empty city, you know? And so he did this like proof of concept of this alternate ending. He's like, well, we could do this. And I think they saw it and were like, all right, you can have your money or whatever.
I get it, but like of the movie we just watched, so I do know from just DVD covers and things, Matrix looking Alice pops up pretty soon.
Oh yeah, we get to Matrix looking Alice. Don't get me wrong, it gets there, but we're not there yet. Like I said, in this one, I don't think you're even supposed to think they've experimented on her with the T virus until the very end. Even though it might be retcon that she kind of already had it going on earlier in the movie, I don't remember. Like I said, there's a lot in this franchise. It's very convoluted.
It's a thinking man's movie.
That's right. This is a thinking man's zombie franchise.
Well, I had fun for what it was.
I was to say, do we have any final thoughts? We're gonna wrap this up.
Yeah, I'm glad I watched it. I may just buy the.
So you just want to do the whole franchise now? We'll just do the next 6 episodes will all be Resident Evil movies.
No, I think on my own, I want to watch the franchise.
Will you at least tweet me about them?
Yes, I would talk to you about them. I just don't have the. I mean this in the nicest way. I don't have the care to want to talk about any of them.
No.
Like, I think that would get very, like, if you and I had, as we were joking earlier about we have no listeners, our listeners are not active, if we were like, we have a Patreon, this would be one of those things like, we have a Patreon special, we're doing all the Resident Evil.
If you want to force us to do this, you can pay us to do it.
And we're gonna rehash the same jokes about the series that we normally do.
That's right.
Do you just want to hear in more grotesque ways how hot Mila Jovovich is?
Yeah, maybe find that on Patreon. Hey, Ali Larder comes into the franchise later, so I can get really. It's like let's just get
oing, you know, like. No, I had fun with this movie. I think it's a super fun. In the sense, a good camp. I wish I had your reverence of it and nostalgia.
The reference is strong. It's enjoyable. I do think it's a better early 2000s time capsule than some of the other stuff.
Yeah, I think people are
out there.
Like
there's definitely more offensive. I would say there are more offensive contributors to the dearth of culture in that era.
Well, I mean, like everything right now, you know. Everything's great. You know, everything's not what you remember and age better and blah blah blah. Most aren't that. When you go, no, like that was bad then, it's bad now. It's not some genius thing. It happens on a daily basis online. These Resident Evil, it's fun. Just it's trash camp. I'd like to watch this with a group of pals.
Yeah.
And go, oh shit, that was fun. That was crazy. I think I'm gonna put this as. I'm gonna put a feather in my cap for this one, or put it in the bank for, hey group, Halloween time. We're looking for something that's just over the top. That's not gonna scare.
You're gonna get some cool action. You're gonna get some cool monsters.
That won't scare a soul. Pick this up. But yeah, I'm glad we visited it as always with movies on our show.
And I hope that when you do find a house, it is not a secret entrance to a murder base.
Listen, that's the dream. It's more square footage. That's not detected.
You're Justin Long. You're like find the secret elevator and you're measuring it. Like ooh.
That's one of the greatest sequences in the movies of the last 2020s.
It really is.
In the 2020s, one of the best sequences in all movies is Justin Long seeing a murder basement and going.
Like busting out his measuring tape to see if he can like up his square footage.
Being like, does this count as your square footage? Like, great
comedy.
He
fully finds this is a tangent, but like he goes into a room that is like there's no other way. There's nothing you could possibly think this room was but a rape dungeon. It's all it's got in it is like a bed and a shit bucket.
and like a dirty video camera.
Yeah, it's just like there's nothing else this could be.
And he was
like, ooh.
It's so. No.
Anyway, watch our Barbarian episode.
Watch our Barbarian. Don't watch our Barbarian. But if you know, you know. You know. All right. On that note,
Joe, this has been fun.
This has been great. Stay frightful, everyone. Hope you enjoyed.
Ooh.
Welcome to Flyover State of Fear.